Daf Yomi, Tractate Chullin, page 45b, with the word top of the page, not very top, but a line or two into it, with the words Rabbi Yirmiyah Bedak Be'ofa. Be'eshkach kemin shnei poilin munachin al pi hakedera. The Gemara relates that Rabbi Yirmiyah inspected a bird and found protrusions similar to two beans lying on the opening of the skull. Amar Rabba bar Tachlifo, Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, Amar Rav, Ad shetina kev lesimpon gadol. The Mishnah states if the heart was perforated to its chamber, the animal is a treifah. Rabbi Zeira raises a dilemma. Is the Mishnah referring to the small chamber within the heart or to the large chamber? Abaye said to him, what is your dilemma? Didn't we learn in the Mishnah with regard to the lung? Rabbi Shimon says it is not a treifa unless it is perforated through to the bronchi. And Rabbi Bar Tachlifa says that Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba says that Rav says Rabbi Shimon means that it is not a treifa unless it is perforated through to the large bronchus. If so, it may be presumed that the Mishnah is referring to the large chamber of the heart as well. Achiyashda. Hasm levesis impoinus getani lehecha lishavchi. Simpoinus kulehu. Vihacha leves chalal oketani. Mali chalal gadol. Mali chalal katan. The Gemara responds, how can these cases be compared? There, the Mishnah teaches to the bronchi, meaning the symponot, in the plural form, meaning the one bronchus into which the bronchi empty out. But here, with regards to heart, it teaches to the chamber. What is it to me if this is a large chamber, and what is it to me if it is a small chamber? The language does not indicate one or the other. With regard to the aorta, the chief artery exiting the heart, Rav says, like the heart itself, if it is perforated in any amount, the animal is a treifa, and Shmuel says the animal is a treifa only if the aorta is perforated in its majority. Haininu konalev, Rabbi bar Yitzchak amar Rav chelev shal gabe defanos ol kedaitich. The Gemara asks, which blood vessel is the aorta? Rabba bar Yitzchak says that Rav says, this is the artery found in the fat on the sides. The Gemara asks, can it enter your mind to say that this is referring to the sides of the animal, meaning the ribs, which are not adjacent to the heart? Rather, this is referring to the artery covered in fat that exits the heart and passes on the sides of the lung. And Maimar says in the name of Rav Nachman, there are three ducts adjacent to one another in an animal's chest. One separates to the heart, and one separates to the lung, and one separates to the liver. The duct of the lung is treated like the lung and renders the animal a treifa if perforated in any amount. The duct of the liver is treated like the liver, and only if it is completely missing does it render the animal a treifa, in accordance with the Mishnah. As for the duct of the heart, the aorta, Rav and Shmuel disagree as to the measure of its perforation, as mentioned above. Barchia Masni Ibcha Dereya. Barchia teaches the opposite. The duct of the lung is treated like the liver and renders the animal a treifa only if it is completely missing. The duct of the liver is treated like the lung, and perforation of any amount renders the animal a treifa. And with regard to the duct of the heart, Rav and Shmuel disagree. Az Rav Chia bar Yosef Amar Shmaim Darav coming to Shmuel Amar Le Iachi Amarabo Lo Yada Bet Chayfais Lo Klum. The Gemara relates that Rabbi Chia bar Yosef went and stated the halacha of Rav that an aorta perforated in any amount renders an animal a treifa before Shmuel. Shmuel said to him, if Abba, meaning Rav, said so, he knows nothing at all about treifot. Nishbar, or in brackets it says Nishbra, Shidra Tanu Rabbanan, Chuta Shidra Shnisak Berubo Divrei Rabbi Rabbi Yaakov Omer Afilu Nikav. The Mishnah states if the spinal column was broken and if its cord was cut, the animal is a treifa. With regard to this, the sages taught if the spinal cord was cut in its majority, the animal is a treifa. This is the statement of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Rabbi Yaakov says it is a treifa even if the spinal cord was only perforated. Hoy Rabbi Rabbi Yaakov Amar Huna Ein Halacha Rabbi Yaakov. The Gemara notes Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi ruled in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yaakov that even a small perforation of the spinal cord renders the animal a treifa. Rav Huna says the halacha is not in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yaakov. Rav Amar, Rav Horo, Amrila, Rav Mocho. The Gemara asks how much is considered majority of the spinal cord to render the animal treifa. Rav says the majority of the circumference of its surrounding membranes, the meninges, and some of the majority of the nerve tissue of the spinal cord itself. In other words, even if the meninges are intact, the animal is a treifa if the majority of the nerve tissue is cut. Man demarov moichoi shkol shekin ravoiroi laman demarvoiroi roiv moichoi mai. The Gemara notes, according to the one who says that the animal is a treifa if the majority of the nerve tissue is severed, all the more so if a majority of the meninges is cut, since if the meninges, the protective membranes, are damaged, the nerve tissue itself will certainly be damaged soon thereafter. But according to the one who says that a tear in a majority of the meninges renders it a treifa, what is the halacha in a case where only the majority of the nerve tissue was cut? Perhaps the intact membranes will keep the damage from spreading. Tashema de Amar Nizal Nilvi Amarav Huna Rubashyamaru Ravoiroi Mayachzev Malev Lamoirid. The Gemara suggests coming here a proof as Neoli. Or here it says Nilvi. Okay, different pronunciations. They translate it Neoli. It says that Rav Huna says the majority of the spinal cord. Demar Nilvi. Wow, interesting names. Tashma Damar Nilvi. What's the Gematria? 30, 40, 50, 106. Nilvi. The majority of the spinal cord that they said renders the animal treifa if cut, is the majority of the meninges, but this nerve tissue makes no difference. Rav Nasan Baravin, Havi Yosef coming to Rav, Badak Rav Oyerev Kavadak Rav Moichai Amar Le Ibravar Kayam Boach Ze Eno Maile Vino Moirid. The Gemara relates that Rav Natan Bar Avin was sitting before Rav. Rav Natan first checked the spinal cord to make sure that a majority of the meninges was intact, and then was checking to see that a majority of its nerve tissue was intact. Rav said to him, if a majority of the meninges is intact, this nerve tissue makes no difference. Amar Rav Bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, Nit Menach Pasul, Nit Masei Pasul. Ezoi Ameracha, Ezoi Hamas Masa Ameracha Kol Shenishpech Kiton. In parentheses it says Masama, and then in brackets it says Hamasama. Kol Shin Yakol Lamod. Rabbi Rachana says, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, if the spinal cord was liquefied, the animal is unfit for consumption even if it's softened. the animal is unfit and is a treifa. What is liquefaction and what is softening? Liquefaction, in any case in which the nerve tissue becomes liquid, and if the membrane is punctured, it can be poured out like water from a jug. Softening, in any case in which the nerve tissue cannot stand upright on its own and sags when it is not being supported. Okay. Rabbi Yirmiyah raises his dilemma in a case where the spinal cord became unusually heavy, such that it cannot stand upright due to its usual weight, but not due to softening or melting. What's the halacha? The Gemara responds, Teku must wait until Messiah, the son of David, comes. The question shall be stand unresolved until Messiah comes, meaning Elijah the prophet, he heralds the Messiah, answers the questions, etc. Teku, but Bei Ravamri nit Maseis Pasu nit masmeis nit mas nismasmeis Pasul nismasmeis kosher meis vei Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer behema shenismasmeis moichat treifa ahi nismasmeis itmar. So in the study hall, they say if the spinal cord softened due to disease, the animal is unfit for consumption. But if some of its tissue softened and was emptied from the spinal cord, the animal remains kosher. The Gemara raises an objection based on a brayta. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says an animal's nerve tissue is emptied from the spinal cord is a treifa. The Gemara responds that version of the brayta is incorrect. In fact, the word softened was stated, not the word empty. Eini. Is that so? Halevi hayasif be masusa chaz yelahu gavre tetre she amar nis mazmez mochedi dain lav de lo chaye amar baela lo mashein moilid. The Gemara asks, is that so, that an animal whose nerve tissue has dissolved is kosher, but didn't it happen that Levi was sitting in the bathhouse where he saw a certain man who banged his head severely, whereupon he said, this man's nerve tissue has softened and been emptied? Is it not that Levi meant that the man cannot live? If so, the softening and emptying of the nerve tissue should render an animal a treifa. Abai said, no, he intended to say that the man cannot reproduce, since head trauma might lead to infertility. Okay. Ad heichan chut hashidra amar Rav Yehuda Mishmur ad beis haparoshois. The Gemara asks, until where does the spinal cord extend downwards, such that if it is cut above that point, the animal is a treifa? Rabbi Yehuda says, Shmuel says, until the point between the branches of the spinal cord that's split off between the thighs. Rav Dimi bar Yitzchak Haviko boy lemezon be chozai. Lebei chozai asa lekamed Rav Yehuda amar lechave limar ben aproshes heicho amar lezilai sili gedi yach milach sili gedi shaman amar bilant fe belo yedia haisi le kachush amar le blitan tefe velo yadia. The Gemara recounts that Rav Dimi bar Yitzchak wanted to go to Bei Chozai. He came before Yehuda and said to him, Master, show me, where is the area between the branches to which Shmuel referred? Rabbi Yehuda said to him, go bring me a kid and I will show you. Rav Dimi bar Yitzchak brought him a choice kid with much fat. Rabbi Yehuda said to him, the location is buried very deep in the fat and is not recognizable. He brought Rabbi Yehuda a lean kid. Rabbi Yehuda said to him, the bones jut out very far and the location is not recognizable. Amar le ta'ag marech gemara hachi amar Shmuel adachas treifa shlishis kshera shniya in Yodea. Rabbi Yehuda said to him, come, I will teach you a tradition without showing you. This is what Shmuel said. There are 3 successive points around the same bone behind the pelvis at which branches diverge from the spinal cord. If the spinal cord is cut anywhere until the first gap between these branches, the animal is a treifa. If it is severed anywhere after the third gap, meaning after the third branch, the animal is kosher. If it was severed within the second gap, meaning between those areas, I do not know the halacha. Boy, Rav Huna, the son of Yehoshua, raises a dilemma.